Madam Speaker, in this budget, government is restructuring the social protection regime to make it more targeted and more effective. The Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation has been provided a budget of $113.4 million for the upcoming fiscal year, an increase of almost $46.9 million. Allowances under the various social protection programs will increase. The funding provided under the Poverty Benefit Scheme has increased from $23.2 million to $38.1 million. All qualifying households will receive a 15% increase in allowances. We want this program to do more than just help people survive. We want to allow people to live with dignity. We want them to make their own choices about what to buy, so that a woman does not have to forego sanitary pads for herself and her daughters, so that everyday items like deodorant are not luxuries. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the monthly allowance of an individual under this scheme will now be $35 instead of the current $30. A household with 2 persons will receive an increase from $50 to $58, while a household with 3 persons will receive $104 compared to $90. And the list goes on, Madam Speaker. The Child Protection Allowance will also have a larger budget of $6.8 million, an increase of $3.3 million. The allowance will rise 15%, and grandparents and uncles and aunties who are caring for these abandoned children will receive up to $69 per month per child to assist with their care. Madam Speaker, government has increased funding for the social pension scheme. It rises from $14 million to $37.2 million. Government will also restructure this program, which we established in 2013 for persons who are 70 years and over and who did not have any superannuation support. These are people who usually live in villages and farms and have been self-employed for the entirety of their lives. They do not have FNPF. We started off with a $30 monthly pension allowance and have steadily reduced the age requirements and increased the pension allocation for this targeted group. In this fiscal year, eligibility has been further lowered to 65 years, where it will stay. Many of these elderly people are not getting adequate support from their families, and they need the support to remain independent. So we have doubled the pension, Madam Speaker, from $50 to $100 a month. Madam Speaker, they need access to, for example, things like spectacles and the other aids that they do require as they get older. Further, Madam Speaker, people aged 65 and over will continue to receive bus fare concessions of 50%. The National Council for Older Persons will also receive $345,000 to carry out its mandate. Madam Speaker, we received a great deal of constructive feedback during the consultations regarding the food voucher program, and we are now restructuring it. All food voucher programs will be increased by a total of $1.7 million in the 2017-2018 budget, and we are making them more flexible. All items except alcohol, kava or yangona and cigarettes can be purchased with the voucher, and people will no longer be restricted to only one supermarket chain. Madam Speaker, each household under the Poverty Benefit Scheme and the Care and Protection Allowance will receive a food voucher of $50 in addition to the allowances I have just mentioned. The food voucher for rural pregnant mothers will also be increased from $30 to $50. Unborn babies need to be nourished, and better prenatal nutrition will alleviate emotional and psychological stress both for the mother and the baby. Ultimately, taking better care of expectant mothers is an investment that will relieve pressure on our health system and produce healthier children. Madam Speaker, we continue to make good progress in bringing citizens with disabilities into the full mainstream of Fijian life. Fiji recently deposited with the United Nations Treaty Office our instrument of ratification to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And the new Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act that is aligned to the Convention is currently with the relevant Parliamentary Standing Committee for review, I should say the bill. To ensure compliance and implementation of the Convention and the bill once enacted, the Fiji National Council for Disabled Persons has been allocated a funding of $1.2 million, an increase of over $700,000. Madam Speaker, government has allocated a new funding of around $8 million as separate allowances for our citizens with disabilities. Previously, allocation was made under the Social Welfare Scheme, but we need to recognize that persons with disabilities often have a very specific and distinct need. Madam Speaker, people with permanent disabilities will also be provided a monthly allowance of $90 per month. Additionally, $1.6 million is provided as grants to organizations serving disabled persons. This funding will also cater for the completion of the Western Disabled Center. Of course, Madam Speaker, we will, as announced last year, continue the 300% tax deduction on wages paid to disabled employees. The bus fare subsidy for people with disabilities will also continue. and $120,000 has been allocated to promote participation of disabled persons in sporting activities. Madam Speaker, Government will also provide funding to the Fiji Roads Authority to ensure that new roads and footpaths are disabled friendly and provide easy access. Apart from this, we have made a separate allocation of $500,000 to FRA to retrofit existing footpaths starting within the municipality so people with wheelchairs can cross the road from one curb to the other. We have also allocated, Madam Speaker, funding to retrofit government offices that are visited by a large number of citizens to make them accessible to the disabled. Madam Speaker, Government has also allocated in this budget, Madam Speaker, $850,000 to the Frank Hilton Organization. This funding will allow this highly respected institution to work in Fiji to detect disabilities in very young children and then intervene with appropriate therapies. The Hilton Organization's speech therapists, audiologists, physical therapists and counselors are widely respected for their outstanding work they do in diagnosing and treating disabilities and in working closely with families to help them adapt to raising children with special needs. Madam Speaker, in the 21st century, there is no reason to give up on children with disabilities. With early intervention, proper attention and loving families who are prepared to help them, they can look forward to meaningful and productive lives.